The Hill newspaper right here. EPA chief races to finish climate rules before Obama leaves office. See, this isn't about the consent of the governed. It isn't about elections. You have no say in your destiny. You have no say in your country's destiny, whether it's immigration, whether it's health care, whether it's the environment. And it's not the environment. It's the primitives. Come on, backbenchers. You know, I sat here yesterday and I said, my theory is the Democrats are leaking on Hillary. Now the whole radio industry is saying the same. It's amazing to me. I should do the morning shows. Nah, I'd rather not. Anyway, Gina McCarthy, that's your EPA administrator, is locked in a race against time to complete landmark climate change regulations before Obama leaves office. Now listen to that. She's in a race to complete landmark climate change regulations before they leave office. You have one lady who has more power than the entire Congress because there are no checks and balances. There are no hearings. There are no requirements of that sort. She gets her bureaucrats together. They hammer something out. They put up a phony notice period, and then they push it out the door, and there it is. It's the law. And if you challenge it in court, now you federal judges out there and Supreme Court justices, you know I'm right. You all accede to these federal regulations. The presumption is that they're legitimate, and almost never can you fight them successfully. Almost never. With just 22 months, listen, with just 22 months left in Obama's presidency, the Environmental Protection Agency administrator and her team are burning the midnight oil to enshrine emissions regulations for power plants in federal law. They want to shut down a whole bunch of power plants. This is why I call them regressives. This is why I explain that they are primitive. Remember that word, primitive. You're going to hear more and more people use it, like corporatist, which I introduced into radio world, or statist, like I introduced into radio world, or utopianism. You remember primitive. One of the main focuses of the White House right now is to make sure that the administration is coordinated, so the entire breadth of the climate action plan can be basically realized before the president leaves office, McCarthy said during an exclusive sit-down interview in her office. Without any legislative authority whatsoever. They're going to put hundreds of thousands of Americans out of work. They're going to drive up the cost of everything we do. They're going to put certain businesses out of business, particularly hard-working men and women who cut their hands and their knuckles on assembly lines with hoes and axes, who work in mills, coal mines, steel plants, those people. And everybody living in the suburbs, you're going to be affected by this. And everybody living in the metropolitan areas, you're going to be affected by this. Just because you don't know where fish comes from. Oh, it comes from the ocean. Well, there's a lot more steps than that before it hits the grocery store. Or a piece of steak. Or apples. Or anything else you go to the store and buy. Just because you don't think about how this process begins before it gets to you. And the infinite steps in between. Doesn't mean it doesn't affect you. It sure as hell does. We turn on switches and there's electricity. It's not so simple. People have to break their backs to produce that electricity. And yet those are the people who are the targets of this administration. And it's not just redistribution of wealth, and it's not just the primitives, but they want to steal our liberties, like backdoor totalitarianism on bullets, on gun control, or using the banks and the loan process to shut down gun shops. America's not fundamentally transforming. America has fundamentally transformed. The question is just how far are we going to go? Apparently very far. Can't shut down the government. Government shut down today, you dimwits in Congress. Everybody's the better off for it. Even the people who work in it are glad. They're sitting there, please, snow, I don't want to go to work today. That's the truth. It's the truth. EPA chief races to the finish line to complete landmark climate change regulations. Now, can we see these regulations right now so we have time to talk about them? No, you can't. There'll be a comment period, 60 days, and they may expedite it to 30 days if she's in a rush. And the regulations will be voluminous and complicated, and they will refer to other regulations that refer to other statutes and regulations. You need a lawyer, and your lawyer needs a lawyer to figure them out. And let me tell you another little trade secret that goes on inside the Beltway. These regulations aren't just being written by objective civil servants at the EPA. They're being written by radicals who serve in civil servants' positions, who are coordinating with left-wing kook organizations, primitive organizations, regressive organizations. that despise our lifestyle, that despise capitalism, and despise human beings for the most part. Oh, the world would be just so wonderful if man would go away. So meanwhile, just like with the government shutdown, when it never shuts down, except, of course, when it snows, oh, yeah, let's shut it down. Terrorists won't hit us, it's snowing. Terrorists won't hit us, we want home. The office is closed now. We are turning our nation inside out. We are turning our economy inside out. We are creating misery and anxiety and unemployment and bleakness and family after family that lose their jobs as a result of the iron fist of the EPA and this phony global warming. And it's a complete fraud. Right, Boston? Your record snowfalls?